Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this discussion today that I am so excited to have. I am with Carly Fauth. She is a fitness instructor, cancer exercise specialist, movement mentor, and founder of Fit Fun Carly, which is a virtual fitness program that helps people get fit in just 15 minutes a day. She is a lifelong advocate for mental health through fitness, and her passion for wellness deepened when she was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer in February 2024. So that's just 1 year ago. As a survivor, she now uses her journey to inspire others to unlock their own extraordinary personal strength and overcome life's obstacles. Now, during chemotherapy, she launched her podcast, Chemo Coffee Talk, straight from her infusion chair at Dana-Farber. She continues the podcast from her home studio now, offering hope, resilience, and real conversations to cancer patients and caregivers. She also wrote a book from her chemo chair called Pray for the Bear. She lives in Milford, Mass, in the United States, for those of you who just a reminder, with her husband, 2 sons, and their golden doodle. And I am so happy that she is here. She and I connected probably about 2 years ago now and completely hit it off. We did another podcast episode in another lifetime, and I followed her journey. And I was absolutely so inspired by her podcast and also what I consider a movement that she put into place on Instagram that I hope she'll talk about also. So Carly, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story today. You are a perfect example of a bold leader.
Thanks, Karen. I'm so excited to be back. I feel like you and I are old friends. So when you asked me to come back, I was like, yay, of course.
Yeah.
Love talking to you and love sharing a little bit about my journey.
Okay. Yes. I thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure that just the inspiration and the nuggets that are going to come from this conversation are going to be amazing. So tell us a little bit first, before we get into kind of this past year. What did you do? Why do you love fitness? And tell us a little bit about that journey before you get into your cancer diagnosis.
Yeah. So I've always been a very active person. I like to say active instead of fitness because, when you're little, you're not thinking about working out and fitness in that way. It's more of a real joy in moving your body. And I played sports throughout my life. And then as I got older, I really noticed how fitness made me feel, especially with mental health. It made me feel good in my body and in my mind. And that kind of led me down a path of really wanting to help others find that same connection to fitness. So I started as a fitness instructor. I took a bar training and never been a ballet dancer. Can't even say that I really love bar, but there was an opportunity presented to me. And I said, I think I'd like to teach something in regards to fitness. So let's just give this a shot. And then I just developed this, reputation as a bar instructor who was fun and really challenged people. And that is kind of how I got my start. It was a side hustle. I had a real job, even though I don't like saying that because fitness is a real job. But I had a whole bunch of jobs that were my full-time jobs. Fitness was my side hustle. And then I started developing a little bit of a reputation for my style of teaching. Then I was yoga certified, and then I was spin certified, and then I went down the line of trying to get certifications in everything. And then I came to a point where I was like, okay, well, I should be taking this a little further in some regard instead of being like the jack of all fitness trades. And I did some soul searching and I realized that there was really nothing I liked over the other. And it kind of came back to why I did the bar training. It's because I enjoy helping other people find joy in what they want to do in regards to fitness. So as much as I could learn about everything, I felt like that gave me a better opportunity to help other people find their connection. So then I started developing more of this idea of really truly helping people find that connection through all the different trainings that I had. Keeping fitness fun, helping people develop self-confidence through fitness, because this kind of came to light around COVID when I noticed a lot of people had fallen off the wagon and didn't quite know how to get back on. So really working with people one-on-one to get over whatever hurdle is in their way. And that's where when I finally decided to make fitness my full-time job. And it's challenging, but it's something I feel like I was meant to do.
So do you work from home? Do you have a studio? Is it just virtual? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's all virtual. I don't have a studio. I've thought about it many times, and I do sometimes do pop-ups in other people's studios, but I really found that the virtual way, it started in COVID. As much as people say, like, we want in person. Yes, I'm sure you do, but most people are really happy with the fact that they have something. It eliminates a barrier of them having to go somewhere. So I have a whole platform. It's virtual with classes, and then I do work with people one-on-one over Zoom. I don't actually work out with them. I work out with people in a group setting through my platform. But when I'm working with people one-on-one, it's more trying to get to the bottom of what I talked about before, helping them connect to fitness in a way that works for them. But yes, it's all virtual, but very personal.
So you've been doing that now for 5 years.
I start 5 years. That's then when I started developing it. And then it will be 3 years since I became the CEO of Fit Fun Carly. And I said goodbye to the other jobs and just made this my real job.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. It's so exciting. For those of you who are listening, also when you do leave your real job, office job, I don't know what we want to call it, to do what you're truly passionate about, it's absolutely life-changing. So that can
be it's scary.
Very scary.
Very scary. But worth it. Yeah.
Definitely worth it. Okay. Yeah. So tell us now, like when you had your cancer diagnosis, how that came about, and a little bit about the beginning and kind of, how you decided also to really take charge of is what I see it as self-leadership of your life and your diagnosis.
Yeah. So I think almost a year I had Fit Fun Carly up and running, and that was my job, my full-time job. And then I got this cancer diagnosis out of the blue. Breast cancer did not run in my family. I did not think I was at risk for breast cancer. I mean, I've always lived a very healthy lifestyle. I think I was the last person anyone would ever think would get that. So it kind of just hit me out of nowhere and took the wind out of my sails. And I thought to myself, I can't think of a worse profession to have facing a cancer diagnosis, than being a fitness instructor and working for yourself with nobody else to pick up the pieces for you. I had to figure out a way. I didn't want to give up what I had created. It was very important to me. I have such a solid group of clients, and I knew that they were counting on me, and I was invested in their health and wellness as well. So I thought to myself, I have to figure out a way to make my way through this. I didn't know what my journey would be like. Anybody who has faced cancer knows that in the beginning, you don't have a lot of answers to your questions, and you don't know what your journey is going to be like. So I kind of just had to figure it out as I went along. But I think I went into my oncologist appointment, and she knew, I mean, I made quite a name for myself at the cancer center, and with my oncologist. And I just kept bringing up the fact that I'm a fitness instructor and I have to keep going, and how am I going to do this? And she was like, read this book. And it was called Moving Through Cancer by Dr. Catherine Schmitz. And she's like, there's a lot of research out there. We don't know a lot about it, but maybe this book will help you. And I opened up the first page, and it was the first time I saw somebody telling me that, like, you can do this. You can move through cancer. Is it going to be easy? No, but here are some things that you can do to help keep your muscle mass and safe ways to keep up cardio. And then I realized her guideline in the book was starting with hers was 10 minutes, I think. And mine was getting people fit in 15 minutes or less. That was my whole thing. So I thought, it's almost like it's like I knew this was going to happen, because I could use my method to help me keep going. And so I promised my clients that, like, I'm going to show up for you. I hope you'll show up for me, but like, I'm going to tell you that I'll be honest with you if I can't show up, but my goal is to show up for you every day. And so I think having that accountability piece, I was always everybody else's accountability partner, and now I was allowing my clients to be my accountability partner, and it was pretty amazing. I never missed a day. And I mean, I had a double mastectomy. I missed it, obviously, with a double mastectomy surgery, but I had clients coming to my house to actually do the exercises. But I was back to teaching 2 days after the surgery. I was like standing there with a microphone and telling people what to do, and other people were the body doubles. I was determined. I was hellbent. And then once I started chemo, I was really aggressive. It was like as aggressive as you can get. I lost my hair. I was really sick, but I never missed a day. Never missed a day.
You never missed a day.
Nope. Did not miss a day.
And what do you What do you attribute that to? Is it habits you had before? Is it determination? Was it a will to kind of prove yourself to the universe that you could, tackle this? What kept you showing up every single day?
I think it was because I knew I had to, my business was so important to me and I didn't want it to go under. So I knew what I had to do to keep it going. But I also think that I don't like to be out of control. And I was mad that cancer came in and was thinking it was going to rewrite my life. I didn't have this plan for cancer to come in. So I just I was like, you are not going to be the author of my story. I am going to rewrite the script and I'm going to show you how this can be done. So every single time I felt tired or didn't know if I could do it, there was this fire inside of me that was like, oh no, cancer, you do not tell me what to do. This is my life. I get to write the narrative. I choose how I am portraying this. I choose what I am putting out there and what I am letting in. So it was just I think it was a way for a control freak to get some control over something she had no control over. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm driven. No. I'm driven when it comes to things that have to do, I'm internally driven. I'm not super competitive against other people. I'm just very competitive and driven within.
Okay. What was the toughest part showing up every day or during, and maybe it wasn't showing up every day, but was there a time during, since your diagnosis, what was the toughest part and how did you work through that?
Probably when I really started to feel the strength go, because chemo eats muscle for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, that's proven. That's going to happen. And the reason why you're supposed to be moving through cancer is to stop that from happening. It will happen, but to kind of take some control back and to always think of chemo as Pac-Man eating muscle and to stop Pac-Man from eating so much muscle, kind of muscle it back. But yeah, when I started to really notice that I was losing some strength and I was so concerned with, honestly, I didn't want to appear weak to my students. I had always, when you're the instructor, you're the one that's supposed to be the leader and the strong one. But it was hard for me to accept that I may be moving slower and lifting lighter than my students. That was a hard part, but I got over it pretty quick because then I talked through it. I said, use me as your minimum. First, if we were doing something cardio, go my speed or faster. Do not go slower than me because I'm about the slowest you could go. Or I'd say the same with weights, use me as your min. That's what was the big thing with that. So I think that, and then just some days where I would feel shaky a lot. And anybody who's gone through it knows you feel so awful. But once you realize how much better you feel after you move, then it makes it easier to do. But getting over that hurdle, especially in the beginning where you're just oh, it's just you feel so crappy. And it's a weird kind of tired too. It's no amount of sleep can give you your energy back. It's so weird. That's the best way I can describe it. It's weird and it's emotional. So I was always afraid I was going to burst into tears too in front of my class, which wouldn't have been the worst thing. But it's just not, again, I am in control. I don't want cancer to control me. That was it.
And so tell us about your podcast, because I just want to put this out there also. I knew that she was doing a podcast because, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were doing the podcast while having your cancer treatment.
Yes.
While having chemo.
Yes.
So I would see Carly on social media, the pictures. And so I knew that she was advocating for herself. She was putting her voice out there. So is that when you started it? Tell us a little bit, what is the genesis of your podcast?
Yeah. A week before chemo, I went to someone's house. She wanted to have me as a guest on her podcast. And we were sitting in her living room and she had these tiny microphones and she did it from her phone. And I don't know why I was starting chemo the next week. It just hit me like a bolt. I was like, I should do a podcast from the chemo room. And I said that to her and she was like, yeah, you should. I was like, I wonder if anybody's ever done that before. And so I got her little microphones and my husband was the first person that was coming with me to be my chemo buddy. And I said, I'm going to stick these in my bag and I'm going to start a podcast from the chemo chair. And went in there, I told my chemo nurse, I'm going to do a podcast. And she was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, yeah, well, it's not going to be video. I knew. I didn't ask permission because I had a feeling that there might be a no, and I'd rather just ask for forgiveness than permission. So I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show them how good it is, and then they're not going to want to say no. So I had never done a podcast before, figured it out, and I did the first episode with my husband. And my idea, I had a game plan for how I was going to do this because number one, I was scared to death to go into chemo. So scared. I didn't know what it was going to do to me. The idea of going in there and seeing the poison put into me, it was just like I couldn't. So I knew I had to reframe the situation in my mind to be able to walk through the doors. So I said to myself, it's not chemo day, it's podcast day. I'm going into my studio. And that really worked. And I knew I had this lineup of great people that had asked to be my chemo buddy. My husband was the first one. And I thought, how great would it be? All these people that are coming with me, I think they're all coming with me for a reason. And they've all taught me something that's helping me get through this experience. So why don't I highlight the feature about them that I admire so much and ask them questions so they can kind of teach other people how to instill that quality in themselves to get through hard times. That was my framework. So that's how I started with my husband, and we had a great conversation, and everything was like 20 to 30 minutes and lots of laughs, but like you can hear the chemo machine beeping. My chemo nurse comes in. I had an on-air sign and people would pop in and they'd be like, sorry. I'm like, no, come on in. It was just very, I didn't edit them. And yeah, they kind of took off and they really, so it was a special time because all of my guests were so nervous to be on it, but they did such a good job. I think when you can talk about yourself, it opened up like even the people that I thought were going to have a really hard time speaking just gave such great, it was like so empowering, and the advice they gave, it was like little nuggets of, I don't know, it was like, I look back on that, I'm like, wow, those are so valuable, those episodes, because they could teach you so much that everyone could learn from. That's the feedback that I got. So that really helped me get through it.
So how many episodes have you done? Was it always when you were having chemo? Are you still doing them? Tell us a little bit about how it's evolved.
Yep. So I had chemo every other Wednesday. So I would release one every other Wednesday with my guests, and there was 16 rounds of chemo. So I did that. And then when I was done, everyone was like, well, what are you going to do now? And I was like, I don't want to give this up, but it has to evolve. I didn't want to change the name because I had gotten so much traction, even though I wasn't in chemo anymore. I was like, I'm not going to rebrand it. But then I started doing it from my kitchen, and I invited other cancer survivors. I'm trying to have men on the show too, talking about prostate cancer, or caregivers, husbands, people who have gone through loss. The only thing that I make sure every episode is it's uplifting. Even if it's a sad story, even if we're listening to someone tell a story about a journey where you're just like, wow, it needs to make you leave feeling like you've nourished, I guess. Nothing, I don't want anything where somebody's going to be leaving feeling depressed. I want to kind of take the fear. I want people to talk about it and know that it's okay to talk about it. So now I have doctors, experts, celebrities. I'm getting a kick out of the people that I've gotten on the show. It's really fun. Yeah, I really like it. And same thing, 20 to 30 minutes. I don't want it to take up too much time, but every episode has a purpose of what I'm trying to get across about the cancer journey. Yeah.
So are you going to continue it? Tell us a little bit about now how do you see it evolve in the next year?
So I am booked. Like I have like 4 episodes back each time where I put one out a week, but I like having like a stockpile of episodes so I can keep going. I don't ever want it to end. I feel like there's so many people that have stories to share. What's really important to me is the whole moving through cancer piece. So cancer exercise, and there's a lot of research coming out about that. So I have had a lot of experts, top scientists in the world talk about the importance of moving through cancer. A lot of local celebrities to the Boston area, newscasters who have gone through it. Yeah, some celebrities as well. I have some celebrities upcoming, which are pretty exciting. Yeah, so it's really like it's a lot of work, but I love it. So I want to keep going. It's season 2 because season 1 was when I was in the chemo chair, and season 2 is when I'm out. But I'm going to have to come up with a season 3 because season 2 is like 28 episodes deep, I think. 29 post. Yeah, season 2.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's amazing. All right, I will link it.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, no, I will definitely link it. And so that is one thing and I just want everybody to take a second and reflect. The amount of Carly is just the energy, how she took control. I don't know if that's the word, but the self-leadership is what I come back to through something that is so challenging for so many people. And just what you did and the value that you are putting out in the world from something like that is just amazing. So I hope that
thank
you
you.
also recognize how much, I think that this is going to be insane in 5 years if we have this conversation,
I know,
how much
right?
it is.
I think that the power is within us all. I think every situation that you are presented with, and I mean, much worse than mine, I think there is a nugget of something you can hold on to make it worthwhile. But sometimes the situation is so awful, it takes so much work to pick out that nugget. But once you do, then it's kind of like, okay, I can see why this happened. And then you can make purpose of it, because otherwise it's like, I didn't want to live with this and just be like, why did it happen? So you have to choose to make a reason. Why did this happen? Well, now I've come up with 100 reasons why it happened, because it allowed me to do a whole bunch of different stuff that I chose to do. You have to make the choice.
Yeah, I see it as it was, I don't want to say a gift, but it was an opportunity for you to evolve as a person, as a human being on this planet. And you could have shown up completely differently, and you chose to do something beautiful with that.
Thanks.
So thank you.
Thanks.
And tell us a little bit about on Instagram, the trend that you put into place while you were still fighting cancer and while you were about the burpees, because this was also it was taken off, and every single day there were more and more videos. So tell us a little bit about the genesis of that and exactly what it is for our listeners.
It's similar to the podcast. When I got my diagnosis, I'm not making it out to seem like I was this big social media star, but I did have a little bit of a following, and I had my clients, just people that were following what I was doing. And so I was like, I have to announce this some way, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't want it to be sad. And then I was sitting here with my husband, and I was like, what if I do a burpee a day until I beat cancer? And I was like, that's a good way to announce it. I'll just say I have breast cancer and then just switch it over that I'm going to do a burpee a day and anyone can join me. It kind of gives it again. Everyone will be like, oh, of course, Carly's going to do a burpee a day until she is done with cancer, because I was kind of known for my love of burpees, which I really don't love them. I don't know where that came from, but everybody just associates me with burpees. So that's what I did. I made it the first post on Instagram and Facebook and just said, hey, I have breast cancer. Let's not worry about it. And let's just do a burpee a day until this is done. And I invite you to join me. So many people joined me. There were schools doing burpees, my friends and family. My husband did one every day. My brother was my other biggest fan, a lot of my friends. And then it was nice because my kids could get involved too, especially my younger son. He was 9 at the time. So I think that added a sense of normalcy, because we wore wigs when I was doing burpees, and he did them and his friends did them. And it was a way for us all to take some of the fear out of it. And I also did it because I didn't know what was coming down the road. And I thought, no matter how bad things get or how sick I get, I'm sure I can still do one burpee a day. So as long as I'm doing my burpee a day, everything is fine. So it was kind of like a baseline. So yeah, it really took off.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Is there anything that, I don't know, words of wisdom or something that you'd like to share about your journey that we haven't really touched upon?
So I would say my biggest thing after going through that is, and the research is coming out to prove it, that exercise through cancer treatment and afterwards is such a game changer. You will not want to do it, but it can help you with the side effects. It can help you keep the muscle. It can help you keep the health of your heart. And it's not as hard. I'm not talking about doing burpees every day. It could be simple stretching, but really making sure you're focusing on your good days of doing as much as you can, because you will have good days. So maximize on the good days. Do a little bit, is like just a little bit every day, and know that commitment to staying active during your treatment will help you in the long run. We need to change the vocabulary around cancer patients too. Instead of focusing on you should be resting, you should be resting, you should be resting. No, you should be moving, you should be moving, you should be moving. Obviously a balance, rest when you need to, but not all rest. That's my big tip. And if you need help with that, there are people that can help you. I mean, it's an up and coming field, but you can always reach out to me as well. The cancer exercise movement, that's what I'm calling it.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. I absolutely love it. So thank you again so much for what you were doing and all your beautiful energy that you put out in the world. Is your business evolving at all? And has it evolved? And if somebody wants to work with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, so my business is evolving because I have a whole cancer exercise side to it, but I'm still mostly working with the general public, but the two go hand in hand. They're not even that separate. You can get in touch. You can always email me, Carly@fitfuncarly.com. My website is fitfuncarly.com, and you can follow me on Instagram @fitfuncarly. Oh, so much Fit Fun Carly. You'll never forget it.
Yeah, okay. Great. Is there anything else that you want to add or have a resource for somebody? No, just people. I would encourage everybody.
Reach out. I love hearing from people. Don't be shy.
Yeah. Carly's energy is absolutely contagious.
Thanks, Karen. So is yours.
And I hope that people go back and watch the video and don't just listen, because you can actually, the energy is tangible. So thank you so much. I will link all of those resources. I will link the book also that you mentioned. And the only thing I can say is let's talk again in another year.
Love to.
And I can't wait to hear how things evolve. I don't even think you can comprehend the movement and the seeds that you are planting now, how that is going to impact people.
Thank you, Karen. I'm hoping I'm planting a lot of seeds.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yeah, so no, they'll come to fruition. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. And please go check her out and give her some love.
Thanks,
Bye, Carly.
Karen.